how we use social media. It's not just about the platforms themselves.
To the preservation of the national unity and democratic stability.
Water is life, water is an essential service, and we must have to carry out the residents.
Local communities are not only vital to the growth of society, but they also form the bedrock of humanitarian development.
Hello and welcome to The Reporter, a news and current affairs program that goes beyond the headlines, bringing reporters from the field to give first-hand accounts and in-depth analysis of unfolding issues, correspondents' perspectives, ensuring balanced, credible, and comprehensive storytelling. I am Anieti Patrick. It's good to have you on the program, The Reporter. On this edition of the program on electoral matters, the Independent National Electoral Commission has unveiled a revised draft of its 2026 regulations and guidelines for political parties. Reactions from party leaders reveal both support and skepticism. Meanwhile, the National Executive Committee of the People's Democratic Party has reaffirmed its commitment to unity and internal democracy ahead of its national convention, scheduled for March 29th and 30th, 2026. This formed part of resolutions reached at the party's 107th NEC meeting held in Abuja. Political correspondent Ubong Usoro reports.
The National Executive Committee deliberated extensively on key issues affecting the party, its organizational strength and future electoral engagement. The committee expressed satisfaction with the successful conduct of ward, local government area, state and zonal congresses across the country, describing the exercise as peaceful, transparent and credible. Addressing the meeting, the chairman of the National Caretaker Working Committee, Abdurrahman Mohammed, described the gathering as a defining moment for the People's Democratic Party.
It is with deep sense of responsibility and gratitude that I welcome you all to this important meeting of the 107th National Executive Committee of our great party, the People's Democratic Party. This next meeting comes at a defining moment in the life of our party.
The Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, in a speech called for reconciliation of all factions, adding that the opposing camps are fighting a lost battle, while also insisting that the convention planned for March 29 and 30th, 2026 will hold.
A fight cannot fight. Politics is not contract of share. Two different things. I didn't want to live my power. I wanted to have power. You wanted money. You had contract of over $1 million.
The PDP says it remains a formidable political force and is repositioning itself for future electoral contests as preparations for its national convention gathers momentum. Ubong Usoro for Global Television News.
Yes, Ubong Usoro. Hello, Ubong. How have you been in the course of the day? Let's get your thoughts on what's been happening with the APC convention in line with what's happening with the Independent National Electoral Commission. How are you doing, Ubong?
I'm very well, thank you. Always a pleasure to join you on your program. Thank you.
Amazing, Ubong. Let's start with the electoral body. Independent National Electoral Commission proposing new 2026 guidelines. Will these reforms truly strengthen internal democracy within parties or deepen existing divisions from what we see?
Yeah, I think that it will strengthen reforms because if you look at electoral systems, there's been bits of improvement since 1999, and the improvements may not be as rapid as a lot of persons may have wanted. But if you follow it very clearly, you will see that the improvement has been has been steady. It may not have been as rapid, but there's been some level of steadiness in the various reforms that we've seen over time from 1999. Remember, now a time came, we had the card readers in 2015. In 2023, we now started talking about BVAS, IREF, and all of that. And now the Independent National Electoral Commission is looking to follow its own timetable and saying all of the political gladiators who are involved should be able to put their houses in order, settle internal disputes, submit e-register, and make sure that their party is highly digitized. And I think this is good for us as a country because we are going towards the way of technology. So nobody can now lie that you are registered when you are not registered. Because once you are registered, it's captured. They know your dates, they know your ward, they know your polling units. Even your NIN is now captured. So you can see it's now linked to national security. Being a member of a party is now linked to national security. So these are clear, careful, steady reforms that are coming up, and with time, we keep making this steady progress. So for me, I think INEC calling and having a meeting with all the stakeholders and telling them that you have to follow these rules, because if you do not follow, we may disqualify you. It's a good place to start for our democracy.
I like what you've just given out, but let's look at the People's Democratic Party. Of course, we see that they are pushing for unity ahead of its convention. Can reconciliation efforts bridge the fractional rifts, or is the crisis far from being over? Because we've seen a whole lot. We cannot tell from what sometimes we see. We don't know what is really happening inside because we've seen the factions. But can this result to the drama being over at all?
Yeah, it can be resolved. There's no problem that cannot be resolved when the parties involved are serious about reconciliation. Even the Second World War, you saw the US dropped a bomb in Hiroshima, and Japan at that time dropped a bomb in Pearl Harbor. But now the US and Japan are good friends, right? And these guys have always been friends. Turaki, Tanimu Turaki is the leader of the other partner, and Abdurrahman, who is the leader of the UK-backed faction. In fact, Abdurrahman served as deputy national chairman under the same leadership that had some of the persons that are in the other camp. So they know themselves, they work together. And today there was a press conference where Turaki came out to say, yes, we are exploring settlement. In fact, we are withdrawing all our cases in the courts, the various courts, high courts, appellate court, and the Supreme Court, as we tend to see if these issues can be settled. And for me, I believe it can be settled, like they're on the right path, because they know that if these issues are not settled, they stand a chance not to have any candidate in 2027. We've seen this kind of issues in Rivers State in 2015, 2019. We saw it in Rivers State, we saw it in Zamfara State, where internal party disputes did not allow them to be able to have candidates. And if they are not able to put their houses in order, they will not meet up the guidelines. Remember, INEC says you must submit your register 30 days before you go for an elective convention. Another convention will come up where party leaders will be elected. So if they don't keep to this and settle the dispute, they will not be able to meet up with the timeline. So I think it's in their best interest.
But Ubong, I still want to have you stay with me because I still have related developments, the same story, because the screening of aspirants of the All Progressives Congress, APC, for the national offices ahead of its March 27th to 28th National Convention has commenced in Abuja. Well, let's take these reports, and then when I come back, I'll speak to Ubong on the issues relating to these guidelines. Let's take that report.
Chairman of the committee and Governor of Ekiti State, Biodun Ayebanji, said the screening so far has been without any hitch, adding that the process is guided strictly by established procedures and rule of law.
It went very well, very successful, and it's still ongoing. One of the committee is still they're still working, but two have concluded, and we're just taking a break. But the most important thing is that we had everybody coming for screening.
Among those screened is Barrister Murtala Kankia, the APC National Legal Advisor, Bashi Gumel, the financial secretary of the APC, they both expressed confidence in the credibility of the exercise.
The screening is good because it's good for them to get to know people. It's something which is in accordance with the law.
My expectations are really very high, but the most important is repositioning the party and getting it set, for the 2027 elections.
Maikafi Abubakar, the national auditor of the party, and the national women leader, Mary Aidele, says the process reflects internal democracy and is well organized. They therefore commended the committee for a smooth and transparent exercise.
The screening went on well. The panel, the subcommittee panel introduced themselves through the chairman, Senator Oji Kanu, and then later they said I should brief them on my CV.
And I've just completed my screening.
Incoming.
And like you just said, it was like the speed of light.
Yes.
I came in and they all introduced themselves. I introduced myself, and it was everybody just agreed that there's no need, just take a bow.
The screening exercise continues as the party prepares for its national convention. Ubong Usoro for Global Television News.
Ubong, I know I still have you there with me. I just wanted us to speak to, yes, we talked about the PDP and how, because I said this is related development from what the APC and the PDP are doing ahead of the National Convention to see how they can fit in to what the INEC has given to them. Well, we talked about the PDP and all they're doing, but let's talk about the APC. As the All Progressives Congress begins the screening ahead of its National Convention, how transparent and credible is the process in shaping the party's future leadership, because a whole lot of issues are raised that this might be some build-up to 2027.
Absolutely. This is a very critical build-up for 2027, because what we are seeing is that these are elected officials that will now pilot the national convention of the party, the national convention that will show up candidates. This particular convention is a convention for party leaders. Those are those who are going to lead the party. So this is important because this is the step to the National Convention. Remember, these things are one after the other. We have the World Congresses, we had the revalidation of register. Now we're having the National Convention, the screening of aspirants, as they are called at this time. They are not yet candidates. Candidates are those that have been cleared after screening. So the aspirants were screened, and there won't be much of surprises, not at all, because all of the positions in the All Progressive Congress have been zoned to different states. For instance, let me use my state, Akwa Ibom Cross River. We are to take the Deputy National Welfare Leader, and we're also to take the Deputy National Treasurer. Although some persons from that side are complaining that since the former women leader of the party, Betta Idu, left, the women leader position reverted to Edo State, it should have come back to Akwa Cross. Some persons are complaining. But away from that, there won't be lots of surprises, because since it's zone, most of the persons that are coming up are consensus candidates. For instance, I spoke to Dayo Israel. He's from Lagos State, and the national youth leader of the party has been zoned to Lagos State. And Lagos State has, the party in Lagos State have thrown his name as a consensus candidate. In fact, the only candidate contesting for that position in Lagos State. So apart from a few states that we see two persons, I've not seen anywhere where we have up to 3 persons, where we see 2 persons, where the states were not able to reach a consensus. A lot of other positions have reached the consensus. So it will just be affirmation at the convention. So I don't think we'll have a very long convention because of this. The national chairman, there's only 1 person contesting, which is the Owata. National chairmanship was zoned to Plateau State. So, and he's the only person. But national vice chairman is being zoned to the different regions, and some places you just see 1 or 2 persons. So it won't be a long convention. Consensus candidates all over, zoning, and that's what zoning does.
I see that you have a whole lot to talk about. We'll give you the whole time. We'll keep talking and talking to this, but you know, of course, how the reporter goes. We need to get other stories. Thank you so much for your contribution on this issue. We'll keep tabs. Of course, it's a build up to 2027, and there's a whole lot happening in the political scene. Thank you so much, Ubong Usoro, for your time with us. Amazing. So let's switch our focus to some security matters. The newly appointed Commissioner of Police, Federal Capital Territory Command, CP Ahmed Sanusi, has pledged a tough, intelligence-driven approach to policing, declaring that there will be no hiding place for criminals in Abuja. Addressing journalists during his inaugural press briefing, the Commissioner expressed gratitude to the Inspector General of Police, Olatunji Disu, for the confidence reposed in him, assuring Nigerians of his commitment to duty. Our defense correspondent, Kike Lomo Kere, has the details.
CP Ahmed Sanusi, who has officially taken over leadership of the command as the 35th Commissioner of Police, stated that he will build on the achievement of his predecessors while introducing new strategies aimed at strengthening security across the territory. He emphasized that under his leadership, the command will adopt proactive and professional policing methods with a strong focus on crime prevention and intelligence gathering. The commissioner issued a stern warning to criminal elements, advising them to leave the FCT or face the full weight of the law, stressing that the command will stop at nothing to ensure safety of residents.
We shall leave no stone unturned in ensuring that criminal elements are identified, pursued, and flushed out of the FCT. My objective is not only to respond to crime, but to deter and prevent it before it occurs.
The CP also charged officers and men of the command to uphold discipline and professionalism at all times, noting that misconduct will not be tolerated. It therefore called on residents of FCT to support security agencies by providing timely and useful information, reiterating that policing is a collective responsibility.
It's clear that no form of indiscipline or unprofessional conduct will be tolerated. All personnel must remain civil in their interactions with members of the public and uphold the highest standards of professionalism in the discharge of their duties.
The CP assures the public of open door policy and reaffirmed the command's commitment to protecting lives and property. Kike Lomo Okere, Global Television News.
And joining me right now is Kike Lomo Okere to bring us up to speed on the reassurance given by the CP of Police there in the FCT. Hello, Kike. It's good to have you join me on the reporter. How have you been?
I'm good, Anita. How are you?
So this, Kike, well, there's a reassurance coming from the CP of FCT Police Command speaking on this issue, and is pushing for more reforms. Well, as the Nigerian Police Force pushes intelligence-driven policing, how willing are citizens to share information to help fight crime based on trust on the security operatives? All right, Kike, if you can hear me, Kike, I'm asking what's the driven reform setting by the police force? Are citizens willing to share information to help fight crime in the FCT and across? Okay, so I see we're having some technical glitches there with Kike. Let's quickly turn our focus and look at some things happening on the foreign scene. Well, the Kenyan authorities have exhumed 32 bodies and feces from a mass grave in a Rift Valley town of Kericho after reports of a secret burial. Police have reportedly received a report about the mass burial of 14 bodies by unknown individuals at a cemetery in the western Kenyan town, prompting investigation. Well, before we bring you that report, let's quickly get back to Kike, as Kike is standing by to talk to us on the security issues in the FCT. Hello, Kike, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you, Anita. Good evening.
Great. As the Nigerian police pushes intelligence-driven policing, how willing are citizens to share information to help fight crime in the FCT?
Actually, the assurance from the Mohammed Sanusi, the assurance is quite very certainty, but the intelligence-driven policing can only succeed with public cooperation and many citizens who are willing to help. but there are still barriers. That is, the trust to remain the major issue, and people are most likely to share information when they believe that it will be handled confidentially and acted upon effectively. And there's also fear of retaliation and skepticism about whether their input will make difference or not. So I think for Nigerian police force, there is need for to strengthen community engagement, protect informants, and demonstrate the citizens' intelligence led to results, to real results. Ultimately, cooperation will grow when trust is built, and trust comes from transparency, professionalism, and accountability.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kike, because like I said, it's an issue around trust, and you've just hit the nail on the head by stating that clearly. Hopefully, that gets to play out better. Thank you so much for your time with us on the Reporter, Kike. Let's quickly get back to the story on the foreign scene where we had some bodies being exhumed, and then police have reportedly received a report about the mass burial. We have Uyi Agumofegbe on that report.
Following the shocking revelation, the area was cordoned off and a probe launched. Government pathologist Dr. Richard Njoroge noted that analysis will determine whether they belong to one person or several.
What we have found is quite unusual. It was one mass grave and the bodies were stacked in gunny bags. We found 7 adults and 25 children who qualify. Some of them are neonates and others are fetuses. So in total, we have 32 bodies. We also found 6 body parts, 4 legs and 2 hands. We will plan for autopsies to determine the causes of death. Some of these look like they have come from mortuaries and others from hospitals. So, but we are going to determine that when we finish with the autopsy exercise.
Authorities have yet to establish the cause of death, and autopsies are expected to be carried out in the coming days. In 2023, hundreds of bodies were discovered in the Kenya coast in what became known as the Shakalola Forest Massacre, one of the world's worst cult-related tragedies. Uyi Agumofegbe reporting for Global TV News.
And joining me live in the studio here is Uyi Agumofegbe to bring us up to speed, because for me, I feel really sad seeing dead bodies lying around. Hello, Uyi. Can you just guide us and walk us through this? A lot of questions are asked. Yes, you talked about some issue around the cult issue around it, but let's look at what's really behind the discovery of these 32 bodies and the fetuses. Not just bodies, you see fetuses added to the body, and concerns are raised. And this is a mass gravesite around the Kenya Rift Valley. So can you share more light on that, basically?
Quite frankly, this is just one of multiple cases of this. For example, in my narration, I highlighted an instance from about 3 years ago, right? There are theories to it. Part of it is one that states this could be cult-related, some kind of ritual killing, and what have you. But I think the Kenya authorities are digging a bit beyond that. They're looking at what are the factors driving this, who are those behind them. This is not random anymore. There's a system around it, there's a structure around it, and it has become something that looks like a practice that's been here for a long time. So authorities are using this particular case to do what probably had not been done in the past. They say, look, we've got to do autopsies, we've got to determine what exactly led to all of this. You could hear people screaming in the background, yes. When we opened up the natural sound. So in all, the Kenyan government is trying to see I can, if you like, get ahead of itself to ensure that it gets to the root of all this, and then more importantly, that those responsible are brought to book.
Thank you so much, Uyi. The good thing is that active steps are taken to see that the perpetrators are brought to book, right, and results is given back. Thank you so much for your time. Well, a whole lot happening, and that's the size of the program, The Reporter. Thank you so much for being a part of the program. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV, channel 365, and Star Times channel 276. To stay connected, kindly follow us across all social media platforms using at Global TV NG. I am Anieti Patrick. Thank you for watching.
social media, it's not just about the platforms themselves.
To the preservation of the national unity and democratic stability.
Water is life, water is an essential service, and we must have to carry out the residents.
Local communities are not only vital to the growth of society, but they also form the bedrock of humanitarian development.